Welcome back to another crochet tutorial with Cozy Rosie UK, and today I'm going to be showing you how to crochet the flame stitch. This is one of my favourite stitches and I featured it in a lot of my patterns for the simple reason that it creates the most wonderfully looking crocheted lace. From either direction it really does look quite stunning. Some of the patterns that I featured this pattern in are mainly in the Gloriosa collection. So you can find it in the Bella Bralette and the Bella Shorts, both of which have full pattern tutorials for you. And you can also find it in the Gloriosa sweater, where it has just one single stripe of flame stitches down each of the sleeves. There's also the Gloriosa flame sleeveless cardigan. This is a premium pattern and it is an intermediate to advanced pattern, but it really is the most stunning way to showcase this stitch. Now before we get started, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and of course the notification bell so that you never miss out on one of my crochet tutorials or free pattern tutorials again. Let's find out the materials we need to learn the flame stitch. The materials that I'm going to be using to show you how to crochet the flame stitch is this Paintbox Yarns Cotton Aran, which is a size 4 yarn, and I'm going to use the recommended hook size, which is going to be a 5mm hook. Now you can of course use any weight yarn and the recommended hook size to create this stitch. In most of my patterns where I've used the flame stitch, I've used a DK weight yarn size 3 and a 4mm hook, just so I can make sure you see all the elements of the stitches. I'm using a slightly heavier yarn just so you can see all the elements really clearly. So grab those materials and let's work the flame stitch. We're going to start by making a slip knot and placing that on our hook, ready to make our starting chain. Now the flame stitch is made up in a multiple of 10, and then you need an extra 1 stitch for your turning chain. Now what that means is that your starting chain needs to be say 10, 20, 30, etc., 110, 300, and then you need to add on 1 extra chain. How many flames you want, you just simply multiply the number of flames by 10. If you would like 5 flames, you will do a chain of 50 plus 1. If you'd like 18 flame stitches, you would do a chain of 180 plus that extra 1 for your foundation chain. So the flame stitch simply has a multiple of 10 plus 1 for the foundation chain. In this tutorial we're going to be doing a starting chain of 40 to make 4 flames plus 1 for our foundation chain, making a starting chain of 41. So we start by yarning over the hook and just bringing it through the loop on our hook, and we're going to repeat that so we have a total chain count of 41. 3, 4, 5, 40 and 41. For row 1, we're going to start by working 1 US single crochet into that second chain from hook. So we simply ignore the first chain, insert our hook under the first, yarn over to bring our loop up, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. That is of course the same as the UK double crochet. We're then going to start our pattern repeat. So we work a chain of 3, so we yarn over and pull through 3 times. So that's 1, 2 and 3. We're going to then skip the next 3 chains. So we've worked into that one there. So 1, 2, 3, going to work into that next chain along. So we skip 1, 2, 3 chains, and we're going to work 1 US single crochet, 1 UK double crochet into that 4th chain along. We then chain 3 again, so yarn over, pull through 3 times, 2 and 3. This time we're just going to skip 1 chain. So we insert our hook into the next to work a US single crochet. We then chain 3 again, 1, 2 and 3. And we skip the next 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and work another US single crochet. So that is our repeat the whole way across this row. I'm going to do that again with you. So we start by making a chain of 3, 1, 2 and 3. We skip 3 chains, so 1, 2, 3, working 1 single crochet into the next chain. We chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. We skip 1, working a single crochet into the next. We then chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and we skip 3 chains again, 1, 2, 3, and work into that next chain along. So as you can see, as we're working along, we're getting 1 large chain 3 space, 1 smaller chain 3 space, followed by a larger chain 3 space. So the pattern's going to look large, small, large, large, small, large, large, etc., etc. We're going to repeat this all the way across. So I'll do another one with you again. This is why I do so many repeats. So we're going to start with our chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. We skip 3 chains, 1, 2 and 3, ready to work into that next one, and work a single crochet. We chain 3 again, 1, 2 and 3. This time we just skip 1 chain and work a single crochet into the next. Chain 3 for a third time, 1, 2 and 3. This time we're skipping 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, and then we single crochet into the next. So again, we've got 2 larges with a small one in between. One final time, because we're nearing the end of our starting chain. We start with our chain of 3. We skip 3 chains, 1, 2, 3, working into that 4th one along with a single crochet. We chain 3 again. We skip 1 chain, working, and then, I think I did it wrong then. We skip 1 chain and work our single crochet into the next. We chain 3, 2 and 3. Skip those next 3 and work a single crochet into our last chain. So at the end of row 1, if I place this down, hopefully you can see, you're going to have lots of chain 3 spaces. They should be spaced with 1 chain 3 space with 3 chains underneath, followed by a chain 3 space with just 1 chain, and then again you should have that larger chain 3 space with 3 chains underneath. So when you're looking at it from depending on how your brain works, you might look at it like I do. So I see large, small, large, large, small, large, large, small, large, large, small, followed by 1 large one at the end. My brain is very mysterious and works very differently to some people's, but if yours works in the same way, that might make sense to you. So at the end of row 1, we should have 4 small chain 3 spaces, because we're doing 4 flame stitches, and those smaller spaces is where the flame itself is actually worked. Going into row 2, we're going to start by making a chain of 1 and turning our work. We're then going to work 1 single crochet into the top of that first stitch where our chain 1 was placed. So we just work 1 single crochet. That chain 1 that we just did does not count as a stitch. We're then going to skip this big chain 3 space, ready to work into the smaller space. So ignoring this whole space here, going directly into that next chain 3 space with just the 1 chain underneath. We're going to be working a double crochet 2 together into our chain 3 spaces, and they're all going to be separated with a chain 3, and this is what creates this beautiful flame stitch. So we're going to start by yarning over our hook, skip that big chain 3 space and insert your hook into the chain 3 space with just 1 chain underneath. We're going to yarn over and bring our loop up. We yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops. We then yarn over again, and we're going to reinsert our hook into the same chain 3 space, yarn over, bring a 4th loop up. We're going to yarn over and pull through those first 2 loops only. So we have 3 loops remaining on our hook. We then yarn over and pull through those remaining 3 loops. So if you look underneath your hook, you should have 3 loops underneath, and we've worked a decreased stitch without decreasing. One of those special ones that I really like. That was a double crochet 2 together, worked into our chain 3 space. Now we're going to work a chain of 3, so that's 1, 2, and 3, before we repeat our double crochet 2 together into that same chain 3 space again. You saw I just pulled that around just to give me lots of space to work into. So we yarn over the hook after doing our chain 3, insert our hook, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through 2 loops. Leave those 2 loops on your hook. We're going to yarn over again, insert our hook into the same chain 3 space, yarn over to bring up a 4th loop. We then yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops on our hook, before we yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. We put a chain 3 in between these flames, or the double crochet 2 togethers, and if you need to, just pull your stitches around to give you a bit more space. So we have 2 double crochet clusters. We're then going to work a 3rd one, so we yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, just pull through those first 2 loops, yarn over, reinsert into the same stitch, same chain 3 space, yarn over to bring a 4th loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over finally to pull through the last 3 loops. We're then going to chain 3 again. That's 1, 2 and 3. We're going to make a 4th one, so we yarn over, insert, yarn over, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, yarn over, insert into the same chain 3 space again, yarn over to bring up a 3rd loop, yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, and finally yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. We've now got 4, so we're going to make a chain of 3, ready to work our final 2 double crochet cluster into that same chain 3 space. Yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over to bring up our loop, yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops. I've got 2 loops remaining, yep. Yarn over, reinsert the hook into the same chain 3 space, bring that loop up so you have 4 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over and pull through the last 3 loops. So that essentially is creating our flame. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochet clusters, and you should have 1, 2, 3, 4 chain 3 spaces. After our 5th cluster, we are not going to make a chain of 3, we simply make a chain of 1, and then we're going to work into the top of that single crochet between these chain 3 spaces. This is going to anchor down that flame. So that's the way that I remember it, is after the 5th one, we do a chain 1 and then we skip that chain 3 space, working 1 single crochet into the top of that single crochet from the previous row. And there it is, there's our beautiful flame. Now we're going to repeat this all the way across. So the repeat starts with our chain of 1. We skip that next chain 3 space, ready to work into the chain 3 space with just 1 chain underneath. We're going to be working our 5 double crochet clusters with each of them having a chain 3 space in between. So we'll do this one again together. So we yarn over the hook and insert, in skipping that chain space, into the next, yarn over to bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, yarn over, insert our hook, yarn over to bring up a 4th loop, yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops before we finish by yarning over and pulling through all 3 loops. We chain 3, going to yarn over and reinsert, ready to work our next double crochet cluster. Just pulling through those first 2 loops, yarn over, reinsert, bring our loop up, pull through the first 2 loops, and finally we pull through the last 3 loops. We chain 3. If you need to, you can just pull those stitches around so you've got more space to work into. So we yarn over, insert, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, reinsert, bring our 4th loop up, yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So that's 1, 2 and 3. Be careful you don't think that that chain 3 space is a cluster. We're going to chain 3, we yarn over, reinsert our hook to bring our loop up, pull through 2, yarn over again, reinsert our hook into the same chain 3 space to bring our 4th loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, and finally yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. I do need to keep account of these. So that was our chain 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to chain 3 again. 1, 2 and 3. Yarn over, insert our hook, bring our loop up, pull through 2, yarn over, reinsert, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through 2. We should have 3 loops on our hook. We're going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4 chain 3 spaces. After our 5th double crochet cluster, we simply make a chain of 1. We skip the next chain 3 space, ready to work a single crochet into the top of that single crochet from the row before. And already you can see this beautiful stitch taking shape. Now we're going to repeat this process of working these flames or the double crochet clusters into that next chain 3 space. We skip this one and work into the next one. We only have 2 more to make, and I'm going to meet you at the end of that 4th flame. Don't forget you can kind of hit repeat on what I've already showed you. Go back to the beginning of row 1. It's the same each time, starting from that chain of 1, skipping that next chain 3, working into the chain 3 space with just 1 chain in there. I'll see you in a moment, ready to work the end of row 2. So once you've worked your last of your 5 double crochet clusters, I've done my chain 1. We're simply going to skip the chain 3 space, working 1 US single crochet into the top of the single crochet from the row before. So we've got this last chain 3 space. If I turn it, I can see the top of my stitch, and I'm just going to insert my hook underneath both loops of my stitch and work a final single crochet. You'll see that your chain has come in quite considerably from our original starting length, and you can see that you've got the start of this beautiful stitch pattern. We're going to go straight into row 3. And row 3 starts as a chain of 7. Now that chain 7 counts as a US treble crochet and our chain 3 space, which is the same as a UK double treble and a chain 3. So we simply start by making a chain of 7. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. I'm going to turn my work, making sure that my pretty flames are facing me. Now we're going to start by skipping this first chain 3 space and working into the next one. And we're simply going to work 1 US single crochet into that second chain 3 space. So we skip this one, working into the next one, bring our loop up, yarn over, pull through 2. We're then going to create a chain 3 space. So we chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and we're going to work 1 single crochet into that next chain 3 space. Before we skip this one here. So if we look at it from this side, we've skipped the first one and the last one, and we've worked into these middle 2 flames, and we have the equivalent here of 1 treble crochet and a chain 3. If you imagine, that's nice and square. After that second single crochet, we work a chain of 3. So we yarn over and pull through 1, 2 and 3. And then we're going to be working into this single crochet all the way down here. And to reach that, the height that we need to make is a treble crochet. So we're going to yarn over the hook twice. So this is also the same as a UK double treble. It's important to mention. So once we've yarned over the hook twice, it looks like you've got 3 loops on here, but there's our starting loop, and we've wrapped the hook twice. We're going to insert our hook all the way down into the top of that single crochet from the previous row. We're going to yarn over and bring our loop up. You'll notice that I'm keeping my hook close to the stitch, because if I'm to bring it up, it's going to make the stitch really loose. So I'm keeping my hook close to my project, going to yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2 loops, and then finally yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And as you can see, it creates a frame around our flame or our clusters. Once you've worked your treble crochet, we chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, ready to repeat it all again. So we skip that first chain 3 space, we're going to work into that second one there, working a single crochet. We then chain 3, 1, 2 and 3, and we work into the next chain 3 space with another single crochet. We're going to skip this next chain 3 here and instead work a chain 3, 1, 2 and 3. We're going to wrap the yarn around the hook twice, and we're working into that single crochet all the way down there. So we yarn over and insert our hook. Now as you see, I'm putting a bit of tension on here to bring it nice and tight. Going to yarn over and bring my loop up, keeping my hook close to my project. Yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops. I yarn over again, pull through the next 2 loops, yarn over for the 3rd time and pull through the last 2 loops. We're then going to chain 3 and repeat it all again. We skip that first chain 3, working into the next one in our flame, working 1 single crochet. We chain 3, we skip over there and working to the next chain 3, working 1 single crochet. We're going to skip this next one, so we're going to work a chain of 3, ready to work our treble crochet into that single crochet in between our stitches. You can see these chains and everything look very similar, but it's just, if you look from the side, they're kind of stacking up on top of each other. So we yarn over the hook twice, insert our hook into that single crochet, bring your hook through, keep it close to your project, yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the next 2, yarn over and pull through the last 2. One final time, we're going to chain 3, ready to work across the top of our final flame. So we're going to skip that first chain 3, we're working into those 2 middle ones there, so skip those 2, working into these ones, insert your hook, work a single crochet, chain 3, single crochet into the next chain 3 space, we chain 3 again, we have 1 final treble crochet to work into the top of our single crochet at the beginning of the last row. So we wrap the yarn twice around the hook, insert our hook into that single crochet, yarn over to bring our loop up, keeping our hook close to our project, don't bring it all the way up, keep it nice and tight, yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, I've just split that, there we are, yarn over, pull through the next 2, and then finally pull through the last 2 loops, and that completes row 3. So I wish I had the light behind it. Let me hold it up. There you are. Look at that beautiful framing on each of these stitches. Going into row 4, it's kind of a variation of row 2. So we start with our chain of 1, turn our work, ready to work a single crochet into the same stitch as our chain 1, because that chain 1 does not count as a stitch. And you can see we have this lovely big chain 3 space. We're not working into that at all. In fact, we're going to make our chain of 1. My dog's having a dream, as always. She always times it so well, so you may hear some snores and things. We've done our chain 1, and we're going to work into that chain 3 space, and we're placing our double crochet clusters back into these chain 3 spaces again. But this time they're going to be stacked on top of each other. So we're going to yarn over the hook, ready to work our double crochet cluster. So we yarn over, insert into that chain 3 space, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through 2. We yarn over, reinsert our hook into the same chain 3 space, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over, pull through 2, and finally yarn over, pull, pulling through all 3 loops. We're going to chain 3 and repeat that again. So we yarn over, insert our hook, bring our loop up, yarn over to pull through 2. We yarn over, reinsert our hook, yarn over, bring a loop up, yarn over and pull through 2 loops, yarn over to pull through those last 3 loops. We chain 3, so we've done 2. Then we're going to yarn over the hook and repeat it for a 3rd time. Insert your hook into the same chain 3 space, yarn over, pull through those first 2 loops, yarn over, insert to bring up your 4th loop, pull through 2, and then finally pull through the remaining 3 loops. If you need to, bring those stitches around so you've got a bit more space to work into. So we've got 1, 2, 3 clusters. We're going to chain 3 and work number 4. So we yarn over and insert, bring our loop up, pull through 2, yarn over, insert, bring our loop up, pull through 2 to leave 3 loops on our hook, and we yarn over, pull through all 3. 1, 2, 3, we've got 4, so we need to do a final chain 3 space before we work our 5th and final double crochet cluster into this space. So we should have, ignoring that chain 3 from the previous row, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 double crochet clusters, and we should have 1, 2, 3, 4 chain 3s. Once you've reached that point, we simply do a chain of 1, ready to anchor that down, but this time we're skipping that big chain 3 space, and we're working our single crochet into the top of our treble crochet from the previous row. And that's going to anchor those clusters down into position. We chain 1, skip that chain 3 space, ready to work into our smaller looking chain 3 space, working those 5 double crochet clusters again. So repeat that all the way across, working your 5 double crochet clusters with 4 chain 3 spaces in between, and I will meet you at the end of row 4, where we're going to be placing our stitch into a very particular point. So I will meet you at the end of row 4 to work our final single crochet. So once you've worked your last of your 5 double crochet clusters, we've reached this original chain 7 that we did at the beginning of row 3. And it's really important that we work our final single crochet after our chain 1 into the 4th chain of our beginning chain. So this is why I don't turn before I do my chain, because then it looks at me in the right way. So what I'm going to do is count up from the first chain, 1, 2, 3 and 4, and that should leave 1, 2 and 3 chains, which is what we would have skipped at the other end. Let's have a look again. So 1, 2, 3 and the 4th chain. So I'm going to insert my hook under 2 loops of that 4th chain and work my final single crochet, and that's going to give us that same shape at each end of our pattern. At least it will once it's blocked. Didn't I mention that unfortunately this is one of these patterns that really benefits from a nice blocking? So you now have all the tools you need to make as many flame stitches as you want. We're going to be repeating row 3, which is where we work those treble crochets, or the double treble in UK terms, sorry. We're going to be repeating rows 3 and 4 to create as big or as small a pattern as you want. I'm going to turn it the right way for you. I like it to go this way. Whichever way you like it looking, it is entirely up to you which way you work this stitch. It, for me, is one of my absolute favourites, which is why it features in so many of my patterns. I think the best way that I've used it is still got to be the Gloriosa Flame sweater, where it just has a panel of one flame stitch all the way down the sleeves, and it just really breaks up quite what could be a heavy looking sweater. I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. It's not the easiest stitch to master, but my goodness, it's certainly worth it. So thank you as always for joining me. Make sure you have hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on all those crochet tutorials or patterns, and I will see you again soon for another crochet tutorial.